only have 19% of the people, 19% of the people that have contributed to the emergency fund this year. What does that mean? 81% of the people are either living extremely check to check or living on credit cards. Man, we're in trouble now. We're in trouble now. Listen, I have two guys who are going to have a conversation with me today about this right here. And what's really unique is that these guys are experienced investors, right? Both of them working with $1 million portfolio. And I think that it's going to be really good. They're both young, and they're going to give us an opportunity to hear about how we can all put ourselves either in positions or some precautionary tales that we should really consider going into this situation, right? So without further ado, I'm going to bring up the first gentleman. He's a brother to the channel. His name is the Intentional Millionaire, and he's going to talk to us real quick about what he thinks about this 19%. Salute. How's it going? We can't hear you.
What is going on, Sim? I'm over here struggle streaming, but how's it going?
Doing good. Yeah. So yeah, man. What do you think, man? 19% of the people have added to their emergency fund right now for 2023. What does that say to you?
That say to me that people are just standing still. And I think that people really need to get up, go out, and make some additional income. I think the media has people paralyzed. That's what I think is going on right now. Hence, that's why the emergency savings rate is so low.
Yeah, man, it's wild. That's wild. I mean, I don't even know what to say. It's really shocking, to be honest. Just trying to think that only 19% of the people are in position to save money. I mean, for an emergency, whether it be a water heater, an AC unit, car repairs, tires cost anywhere between $800 to $1,000. I mean, that's a crisis by itself. Think about the winter season. You going into it with bad tires. You could have a snowstorm in a given moment, and man, you go from a snowstorm, and that's an immediate crisis because you can't even drive. And if you drive out there, you risk the likelihood of you running into somebody.
Facts.
Yeah. So we're gonna bring up another brother to the channel, and he is also working uh, with some close to like a mill, and he's in position to really speak on this from a position of power, just based upon his experience, knowing what he knows, and we're gonna see what his sentiments are about this whole idea of only 19% of the people being in position to have an emergency fund. All right. So salute, Perry. How's it going?
Salute. How's it going?
Man, doing good, doing good. What do you think, man? Do you think that it makes sense for people to only 19% of the people to have an emergency fund?
Yeah, I think it's a mess. But really, I think it's something that I don't think it should be all that alarming. Um, look at the way that the country spends their money, right? So, you know, as the nation goes, the people have gone, right? I mean, look at our. I was just looking at some stats on the national debt, just what 2 days ago, and how it just keeps on going up and up and up. So the problems that that's going to cause in the future. So when I really think about it, you think about the pandemic and all the changes we've had since then, and all that money printing and just the inflation. At some point, this had to catch up, and it's finally, as they say, the chickens have come home to roost. So I'm not all that surprised, but it is a deep issue, and sadly I think it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, I mean that screams emergency. To me, if only 19% of the people are saving for an emergency, how are people going out to eat? How are they taking trips?
Oh, that's the problem. That's why they're taking trips and they're going out to eat and not saving for emergency. That's the key.
What are they going? What are they taking with them to lunch for lunch? When they go to work. When I was working, I had I'm not going to promote it, but I had this hot plate. One of my coworkers put me onto it. He was pretty close to being a millionaire, real smart guy, and
Hmm.
always bring his food to work. And he would have this hot plate, plug it in, and about an hour later, his food would be warm, right?
Right.
And he would just eat that right there at work. And I started to think about it. You know, $10 per day, and $10 per day, 5 days, that's $50 just on lunch alone, right?
Yeah.
And I'm saying to myself, this guy's making a good amount of money, and he's also has the sentiment of him saving his money and bringing his food to work. What? Who am I when I'm making less money than him? Who am I to sit up here and think that I can afford to go to whatever the name of the place is, even at $10? Because $10 is generally conservative. We might be probably $13, $15 for a given lunch meal. But man, so seeing that, I said to myself, man, this guy might be onto something. Once I started doing that, I got addicted, man. I'd have my food. Sometimes I'd bring my food almost near raw, and it would take 2 hours for it to cook, and I'd just sit there and it'd cook over the 2 hour period. But I knew in the back of my mind that I was saving money, and I
Yeah.
knew that I could take those funds, and deploy them towards the market, deploy them towards something that was going to benefit me down the road. So,
Right.
what do you guys think the people need to know? What should they be doing in order to put themselves in position for what's getting ready to come? If right now, as we're dealing with these conflicts overseas, right now we're at 19%.
Yep.
What's going to happen whenever, like, those funds that are being exported out of this country, when those funds are really being asked to be delivered upon, it's
Right.
we have the election coming up next year, but man, there's money. There's money that's unrealized that's being spent overseas. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. What I'm saying is we're already at 19%. Inflation is at like all-time high. Credit card interest rate is like 29%. Any dollar that you have on a credit card, you're being charged 29% for those dollars that you're carrying from month to month. How in the world can you get ahead? I mean, 19% are not saving, but then you're being taxed at a 29% rate for those monies that you're spending that you don't have.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you got to start. I think people have to. I think two things just right off the top that I think of. I think that people have to, as far as like credit cards, get rid of them. I mean, because if you got a credit card and you're spending on it, look, if you're not paying it off every month, everybody's like, oh yeah, the points. But if you're not paying it off every month, the points aren't worth it anyway. So, some people, I hate to say everyone, because some people really do use it, get the points, pay it off every month. If you're really doing that, then it's one thing. But if you're not, you got to get rid of it, because you got to get used to living in a world where you don't have access to bad credit. And I mean, bad credit is in credit cards are bad credit. They're a bad form of credit if you're not paying them off. So, because here's the thing, if you're always keeping 10,000 on your credit card, then, let's just say you make 90,000, right? But you're always keeping that 10. Well, you're always using that. So you're going above and beyond your means as it is. So that's one piece. So I just think get rid of those forms of quick credit that you continue to rely on so you can change your habits. And then the other piece, just when it comes down to your day to day, I think you really have to start um not only looking, but almost, I don't even care if you like try to get some visualization of it. You really got to look daily, or yeah, I'm gonna say daily, but then kind of do a recap weekly and say, look, I spent $28 on coffee this week. You got to really see that. You got to really, see the fact that you spent $28 on coffee. You have to get to that point where you can visualize it. Or if not, you're just always getting this habit. So I think it takes breaking. You're gonna have to break habits, right? So you got to visualize and see what's going on with your money, know where it's going, and that's people's biggest problem. They don't know where their money's going.
Tim, what do you think, man? Where should people start, in your opinion? Just Just hearing about the whole idea of 19, man. I mean, that's not even 20%. That's not even 20%.
Um, I think kind of what I shared earlier. I think it's not even about people saving money. I think they have to have the habit to save money, but I think the bigger issue is a lack of income. Because let's just say even if they save that Starbucks coffee, that's only equate to, let's just say, $150 a year. That's still not no money to really make a breakthrough. So I think people really have to understand that the saving part is part of it, but I think people really have to understand the first thing is you got to make more income. So you almost got to do both. You got to make more income, but then you got to have a plan to manage the additional income. And I like what Perry said. And then you need to stop using credit cards if you're not responsible and you can't afford to pay it off every month. And it's a that part is simple. All you have to do is ask yourself, if you go pull your statement, do you have a balance? And if the answer is yes, then we're talking to you. I mean, it's really that simple. And if you pull your statement and 30 days went by and the balance is zero, we're not talking to you on that note. I think that's very clear. But I think people have to understand, even if you just save money or you cut back and things like that, that's still not really going to fix your situation. Because I think for me, what I would tell someone is, I think the old way of doing things was you cut back, you reduce, so that way you can have some discretionary income to invest. But I think now we're in the era now, because the cost is getting so high so rapidly, the cost of goods and services. I really think we need to do both now, meaning we need to cut back, but in the same token, we need to make more. So I think we need to do both in parallel.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that is a really good point. You know, we can't afford to just only do one. That we should put ourselves in position to have a two-prong approach. 29%. I mean, just take any dollar value, whether it's $100. If you carry $100 balance, you're being charged 29% for those dollars. The more inflation goes up, the more that you're going to be taxed. And it's not even so much about speaking from a mountaintop about what's going on. I'm saying that we haven't even really got into like the bad part of the situation out here. It hasn't even really got bad. I mean, people are doing desperate stuff. We're not going to even talk about how retail is being gutted right now. Companies are saying we're not going to be out here if we're going to lose money. So, and it's dangerous for us not to put ourselves in position, because if we don't put ourselves in position, there are people who are waiting for us to fall off, and they're banking on us not being in position in order for us to give them our dollars. For example, we have the likes of people who are involved in the corporate space. Excuse me, the corporate benefit space. Our favorite girl. Here we go. Our favorite girl. Let me see. Let me see. Our favorite girl. Bam. Our favorite girl. Here she is right here. Susie Orman. Susie Orman says, hey guys, hey, why you need a must pay account in addition to an emergency fund? That's what she's saying. She's saying that you need to have an account where you are being forced to contribute your dollars towards something. Now, this is what I'll say. I'll say this. What's interesting to me is that during the pandemic, one of the biggest things that plagued essentially the retirement sector is that people were going in there and they were digging out their money, pulling out their money as a result of this crisis and that crisis. And you imagine if you think the world is getting ready to come to an end, you're saying, hey, listen, the world might be coming to an end. Let me just get 10,000, 15,000. And then people, you have people like our girl right here. She's saying, hey guys, hey, listen, like you guys are dissecting the accounts, like I promised these people that you guys would leave your money in there. I told them that they could count on me to instill in them, guys, don't pull this money out of this account. Leave the money in there. That way it could be there for the future. And you guys and the companies can continue to have proceeds of some sort and what have you. And Perry and Tim will tell you, last year around this time, there was news about this program that came out. And guess who was in position to take advantage of the government sanctioned program that allowed people now to take their money, their income from their jobs, to take their income from their jobs before it even comes to Uncle Sam and say, hey, listen, just like you put money into a 401k, put this money into an account that will force you to have an emergency fund. That way you're not touching the retirement funds. Now you can have a savings account that you can trust, right? You can trust who's a custodian. You can trust us. That's what she says. You can trust us. Trust me, guys. Here we go. An emergency fund versus a must-pay account. An emergency fund is ideal for those one-off expenses such as a home or car repair. But for major emergencies, you need to have more saved. This is where the must-pay account comes into play. There's a difference between the emergency savings account and what I've started to call the must-pay accounts, which might be an 8 to 12 month account, she said, right? The must-pay account is your financial life raft in the case of a catastrophic life emergency. Catastrophic, she says. I got you. She says, I got you guys. Count on me. Now, Susie Oman also told us this. She said, hey, you need to have about $30 million in your retirement account to retire with dignity. $30 million. That's what she told us. She told us we needed to have $30 million in your account in order for you to retire with dignity, because your mom might get sick, you might get sick, you just never know. Now, how many people are in position to take advantage of a $30 million? Perry, $30 million.
Yeah, hardly anybody. Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
So
Pretty interesting. Look, I do get the whole deal with the must pay account. I just think she's kind of breaking up something. I mean, I think it's still similar to Dave Ramsey, right? I mean, Dave Ramsey says your emergency, because he says $1,000, and then I think he says, I don't know if it's 3 to 6 months, that'll pay all your bills and everything. So I think she just kind of come up with her own name for it. So, and then I do want to touch on what Tim said. So I do agree with Tim. Part of my thinking and focusing on the savings aspect was, and it could be a wrong assumption, is that I guess I kind of was assuming if you're not putting away, if you're not one of those who are saving, putting away money, and it's because you don't quite have it and it's due to the credit and things like that, I'm making the assumption that you don't invest at all, but that's not necessarily correct. I mean, there are people who there's people who still invest. They're just, a lot of people, it's almost like they live dual lives, right? There's people who are broke as a joke, yet they have pretty good investments. Crazy enough. It just is what it is, right? I mean, so you got all different kinds of dynamics with that. So I did want to point that out. But I definitely agree that at some point, I think when it comes to the coffee and the stuff like that, I think it can only take you so far. I mean, I think really we are in a time where if you're not investing, your chances are slim, to be honest. I mean, you have a very, very slim chance of ever really having anything if you don't invest. And quite frankly, I'm actually to the point where, people may disagree, but I still think a 401k is Now, I like real estate and know more about it than the average person. So for me, that's my favorite. But because 401k is so accessible, that makes the most sense. But I do believe we're reaching a point where even on top of that, because the way that wages aren't really keeping up with inflation, that I think we're going to reach a time, if we're not already there, where on top of 401k, you almost have to have some real estate. Because to me, that's the only thing that's really, at this point, real estate's the only thing that's really keeping up. And I'm making the assumption it will, because at the end of the day, you got to have a place to lay your head, right? So I still say 401k first. It's the most practical, makes the most sense. But I think we're coming to a point where it's going to be 401k, and you really have to own some piece of real estate, because that's getting harder and harder for people as well. So I just want to make those points.
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
you talking about own real estate with DJ Envin and Caesar?
And let me be very clear. Own real estate and own it the right way and actually own it, like it be yours, right?
Oh man, what about shuffling paper, man?
Right.
Yeah. So
make
look,
sure your name is on the deed. That's the key.
man. I mean, like that's real estate 101. You know, it's like it's interesting to commit life savings worth of money towards. I don't know, man. It's wild. It's wild. So this is what she says. This because we can trust it, right? She so she says. Oh, she says you're planning. You're planning for you to get sick. You're planning for an accident. You're planning for a layoff. What are the bills that you must pay over the 8 to 12 month period while you're unable to work? The must pay bills must be in a must pay account. But having a must pay account isn't enough. You shouldn't have to touch this account for smaller emergencies. What nobody usually plans for are the little things, right? Your car breaks down, your refrigerator breaks down, your air conditioner isn't working, whatever whatever it may be. With an emergency savings account, you have $1,000 in there. You have $2,000 in there. Great. That's what she says, man. She says, "Come on, guys, come on, come on." This, where's she directing us to? This is the thing to me. I understand you giving me advice, but are you are you like hurting me towards being slaughtered at your farm? You know, like is this something that you have an opportunity to benefit from? Because this is one of the main kind of hangups that I had when I came across this whole situation. So this is what it is. Let me go ahead and get to it. Let me fix this. Let me see, fix this. You won't let me fix it. There we go. All right. So check it out. Check it out. Check it out. All right, guys, look. So this is what it is. This is what she's talking about. She's talking about this plan right here. The secure save. Take the first step towards employee financial wellness with emergency funds. And what this is, like I said before, is the secure save program. It circumvents you as an individual. Your company says, hey, we don't, because they make promises as well. They make promises to the custodian for their 401k that their employees are going to be limited to one withdrawal or one loan or two loans on an annual basis. So now they're saying, okay, listen, we need a program that's going to keep them from touching those monies, because we have those negotiations with the custodians of our retirement accounts. We need them not to be keep on fluctuating the balance in there. So now if secure save is our solution, now they skip you as an individual. Now your company signs up for it, says, hey, okay, you can contribute your money towards your 401k, but then now you can also contribute your money towards this program. It's one of the benefits that you get, similar to a HSA or a discount program or something along those lines. And what it does is it allows you to save this money. A little bit of money every single month goes into this account. Now, the deductions that happen in this account are not penalized. This is something that the government allows to be possible. But guess what, guys? This was the part that was the most shocking. Now, I went through it, right? And as someone who's really interested in the real estate space, in the investing space, I know that anytime my money is parked anywhere, somebody is benefiting from that money being parked there, whether it's PayPal, Cash App, your bank, your retirement account, you name it. If my funds are there, even for one day, somebody is getting return on that money.
Right.
Would you guys believe me if I told y'all that this account is set up by your employer on your behalf, and then you put your funds in there? But guess what? You can get the money whenever you need it, but you receive no returns on the monies that are parked there. Not one, not a penny. But guess what? You get it whenever you need it. You just reach out to us. We'll get it to you. But but we're doing it ahead of you touching it, because 401k happens before you touch it. HSA happens before you touch it. Dental happens before you touch it. Health happens before you touch it. This account happens before you even receive your check. For the less disciplined.
Wow. That's pretty wild.
But no benefits, no interest. I looked, man. I looked and looked. I went on the site, and I'll show you guys. I looked on it. Because Perry, you parking $5,000 over here. Guess what you get for interest? I mean, Tim, what do you think? Where should I go? Where would I go? Tim is the investing expert. Which section in this area right here would I be able to find the retirement? I mean, excuse me, the interest rate for this account.
It was just, I think it was just on the last page at the bottom. It was a little caveat. Go back to the last page at the bottom, and what does it say? It says Saving Secure is not a bank. Banking services include FDIC assurance provided by Wells Fargo and National Bank.
And Stearns Bank.
Stearns Bank, I'm sorry.
No, it's Wells Fargo and again Stearns.
Yeah, but go to product.
Hold on. Yes.
Yeah.
For the less disciplined.
And get whatever little funky returns I can.
Right.
Get, right.
Right.
I mean, that's the so really I'd rather someone work on the discipline issue.
Well, look. Hold on. Here's the benefit, guys. Here's the benefit, right?
Right.
Here's the benefit. Sign up in 2 minutes. Get matches from your employer. You put 150 in, your employer puts 150 in, right? Employer matches and bonuses are at the discretion of each employer and may not be affected by all, may not be offered by all employers. Get matches on your contributions. You put 150, they put 150 in. Access your money at any time. Now, no. This is something you do throughout the year. They No, they're doing it dollar for dollar. So with the Secure Act, I'm going to pull it up here in a second. The Secure Act 2.0,
Mm-hmm.
government is allowing their employers to now get consideration for the funds that they're putting out there, right? So let's say in 2024, the new programs that are coming out, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what was happening was people were choosing between a 401k or paying a student loan debt, right?
Right.
What they realized was that people who were paying the student loan debt were being penalized because they weren't receiving the interest from those funds that they're now deviating towards the student loans. So what
Right.
they're saying is, okay, employers, we'll give you consideration for the money that you're paying towards a student loan debt, and now it's going to reduce your tax burden.
Right.
So, in the same exact regard, your tax burden as employer is going to be reduced if you can contribute towards your employee not withdrawing those funds from the big hedge funds that hold those retirement dollars,
I
because
got it.
we really need the dollars to be as big as possible.
Right.
So
Right.
now we need like a small pond for them to come and put their fish in, and whenever they're ready, they can do these things right here.
Right.
They can they can receive match for their contribution, access their money at any time, right? And the features you want in an emergency fund: FDIC, a free account, an interest rate so your money grows, and the incentive program. Now, in me looking at this right here, I didn't see an interest rate. I looked for it. I didn't see an interest rate. And to me, it almost seems illegal for you to even have an account that doesn't have an interest rate. The annual withdrawal rate on the 401k hardship withdrawals have climbed to several year high of 2.4% due to rises in interest rates. Right now, I did. This is a newly developed program. So to be fair, let's say maybe she does. Maybe she does. Maybe they do give you some kickback on your money. What would justify you guys having those funds in there versus you all saving the money on your own? Now, because we're speaking to the less disciplined, right?
Right.
What would at what point would you guys say that it makes sense for someone to put money into an automatic savings account that they don't opt to? I mean, they opt to do it, but they're not really designating the specific dollar amount uh, beyond the $1,000. Do you think that people are that undisciplined that they can't even save $1,000?
Yeah, I do. I think they at least think they are, right? I mean, I think if people would really make an attempt, they could, but yeah, I think in general, I think most people have become undisciplined, unfortunately.
Yeah, man. I don't know. What do you think, Tim?
I think I agree with Perry. For me, I think I'm be honest with you. For me, I think we need to get away from programs like this, because I think the more we continue to create programs to coddle people, the more we allowing people to be lazy and not go out and create the discipline. Because I think we almost got to get to the situation that it's going to naturally come. You're going to either fight or flight, meaning you're going to be a winner or you're going to be a loser. So I think all these programs, to me, when we keep creating programs, they become more of a distraction from the real issue. The real issue is people need to, like Perry said, get back being disciplined. And the programs, I don't think they really help people to become disciplined, because we had day rounds prior to this. We had company matching prior to this. We had, companies automatically putting in X amount of percentage into the 401k. They do that automatically. But none of that seemed to really fix anything. We still in a worse case than before they created the programs. So to me, it's not really the program. And I think for me, and my answer may not, it may roll people the wrong way, but I think we really need to get away from that. I think we really got to get back to the fundamentals of people want to do better, but the benefit of wanting to do better, you have to do something. But in the process of you doing something, you have to learn and create a statue. And that statue is that I want to do better, so I'm going to discipline myself, and I'm going to reward myself for doing some things right, and then I'm going to discipline myself if I don't get the job done. And I think until we do that, all this stuff to me is just distractions and more fluff, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, and I'm not sure if the statistics still, if this is still holds true, but I mean, at some point I saw that, and this is of eligible employees, right? Those who can participate to a 401k. I think it was 65%. So if 65% of people who can contribute to a 401k do, it means 35% who can do not. Those people, they're a lost. They're a loss as far. I mean, don't even just toss them out as far as that. I mean, if you won't even take what people will give you, there's no hope. So this program, I wouldn't even, So to me, and then I think it's just trying to come up with another way to get people to try to do something that they ultimately, it comes down to discipline, you know. And I think it's more important to build the discipline because sometimes life will find a way where your back's against the wall and you have no choice but to figure your way out, and you might not be in the same situation after that. And honestly, man, to me, most of these habits, and some people, I do believe people pick up habits as they go, but I still believe, man, I believe it's like, like train up a child in the way they should go. If we were teaching this stuff to young people early on and you were just raised up that way, those habits would be built in you and you'd be doing it. And then outside of that group, I think there's people who grow up, they learn things, they bump their head, but they're striving and they improve. And then outside of that, people trained up to do it and people who naturally have a knack to want to improve. The rest of the people, it's a loss. It's just a loss. They're just going to keep on doing what they do. I mean, let's face it. Um, I mean, think about it, man. We know that 20 years ago, 20 years ago, someone was saying, hey, you really got to get some real estate. Get you a house, own your house. And they were renting. And then we go through the financial crisis, still got bad credit, and they're still renting to this day. Had all those years to get a house, still don't have it. So I think a lot of this is people are going to be who they are. And it goes back to that saying, if the money got dispersed evenly, we know it would end up, we know whose hands it would end up back in. And you know what? Let's face it. We know of friends and family and acquaintances. We know the exact people who wouldn't have a dime. And we know the people that we talk to on a day-to-day basis would be the ones with the money because it's their habits. And we know people's habits.
Just like somebody who wins the lottery. Well, what you're saying, I liken it to. I remember I would watch like the Formula One racing, right? And I would watch how these guys who in Formula One at 4 years old, they're hitting turns, right? So they're learning how to drive. Here you are, 4, 6, 7 years old. You're learning how to take turns and drive. And then here is the opposite. Somebody at 16 years old driving right beside that same exact person. Who do you think was more prepared to be on the roads, to be able to handle all sorts of situations that you deal with out there? The person who's been driving since they were 4 years old, or the person who just started driving at 16. It's a night and day difference, and it speaks to the value of training your children as early as possible, putting them in position. The people who put their children to take turns and go high at a high speed at 5 years old, and to be able to handle all sorts of different situations. And then the people who wait and allow the programs, the driving schools to dictate when your child is going to be in position for them to handle the stuff in the real world. Me, in my opinion, I always tell myself I don't want no vehicles to be around me that I cannot operate. Whether it's a car, a stick, a manual transmission car, a semi truck. I'm interested in taking pilot lessons so I can learn how to fly a plane. I don't want to be in a situation where we're running to the airport in order for us to get out of here. I can't I can't potentially hijack or commandeer somebody's little single engine air.
Little Cessna.
And the other part too is that I worked at the airport and I used to see people who would drive onto airport property, swipe their badge just like me, the employee, type in the password, and then drive onto the property and park their car right at the hangar and then get into their plane and then fly away. There was one guy, I've said this before, there was a guy who used to get on the airplane at 3:30 in the morning, and he had like a twin prop airplane, and he would fly from Raleigh, North Carolina to Florida in order for him to go to work, you know. So seeing that kind of stuff, it really inspired me to know, hey, someone is living on the complete opposite side of the same exact experience I'm having here. They're just having completely different results. So I agree with you guys that you can't coddle people. And if people are to believe that someone else is carrying them, and then it's not incumbent upon them to put themselves in position, they're always going to be at the mercy of somebody else. And guess what? Regardless of how helpful we may think that this program is, however helpful it is, you have to always ask yourself one question. Why? Why are they doing it? Why are they troubling themselves to even help us out, the little old people? What do they get out of the deal? In my opinion, these funds have to be parked somewhere, whether it's the result of the negotiations that are made with these institutions right here. Now, we know that these institutions historically, maybe not the second one, but the first one, historically, they have a history of doing some pretty messed up things. And oops. So they have a history of doing some pretty messed up things. So why would we think that these organizations are going to look out for us? And what is it that you're going to do to put yourself in position? We're already at 19%. Is it going to get better? Is the savings rate, here we are, October, I don't even know today's date.
25th.
The 25th. We are literally like 60 something days away from Christmas. What are people getting ready to do here in about a month? Black Friday.
Black PlayStation portal.
Wow, man.
Yep.
And all these companies are looking forward to it. They're like, hey, guys, we just want to get y'all ready. We're ready for that money. We're ready. We need it. We need it.
You don't think they're doing it because they care about their people? They don't want to be stressed out. They want when they have an emergency, they want to feel like everything's okay because it drives more productivity at work.
I mean, yeah,
I'd
but
like to think that's why, but no, I think I think something's in it. I think there's money to be made, obviously, on the back end, no doubt. And something I want to reference that, because I still think all this comes down to mindset, much like you used a vehicle, for example. Man, when I was 17, I saw a good deal on a car. Now, it was a 5-speed. I had no clue how to drive a 5-speed. I made the decision because that was the deal that that I would adapt. And I bought that car. And I literally had to have someone from my church drive it home. And then someone taught me how to drive it. I adapted. I was like, I need to adapt. And I was like, because I don't need to not know how to move this car. I also bought it also because I knew that none of my friends could drive it. So I wouldn't have to deal with anybody saying, hey, let me drive your car. You don't know how. So I just, you know what I'm saying? And I say that to say that I adapted to what was best. That's what I think people have to do. They need to adapt to what is best and what makes the most sense, not the other way around. But see, when we use credit cards and we do all these things, we're trying to adapt. We find, the financial system keeps on coming up with ways for people with crappy habits to keep on getting by. See, sometimes financially you need to hit rock bottom so that you'll have a paradigm shift. And once you have a paradigm shift, that's when you change the game. I still think about, for me, my highest car payment ever is $349. So, because I heard Dave Ramsey, right, talking about how much you could save, how much money you're burning having these $700, $800 car payments. So I made the choice back then. All right. If I want a nicer car, that just means I have to put a bigger down payment on it. Buy it in cash or put a bigger down payment. but I'm not going to allow myself to have these $7, $8, $900 car payments. I mean, just the number of people who have car payments. I mean, there's literally people making 40,000 and you got like a $700 car payment. I mean, it's wild. So, there's just little choices like that, but they do start to add up and they make a big difference. So I think the core of all these things that they keep on adding, coming up with new ways, right? At the end of the day, it's not fixing any problem. I mean, look, it don't matter. You can say, you know what, this Kool-Aid, I didn't make it with tap water. We use spring water. It's still Kool-Aid. It ain't good for you. It doesn't. This is not fixing anything. It's the same. It's the exact same thing. So I think we have reached a point, and we're not quite there fully yet, but we're reaching a point where you'll be forced. I think we're going to reach a point where you're going to be able to see who's broke and who's not. I don't even think people are going to be able to fake it anymore because it's going to get that bad. That it's going to start to show up, and people are going to have to start making decisions on how you really change your habits to make it. I just think all the faking it and stuff. Because have you noticed? Remember all the flashiness during the pandemic and just all that, man. I'm not seeing now. I know there's still a lot of people faking the funk, so maybe I've been on social media or haven't been around it, but I'm just not seeing as many people. I'm not seeing as many people that look like they faking it like I used to. It's been real quiet lately. It's been real quiet. All the scammers aren't talking as loud. So something's happening. I think a lot of the money's dried up.
Man, there's still running plays out there, man.
Oh, there's plays out there, but I'm just not hearing as boisterous as it used to be. It's gotten a little bit quiet.
What you think, Tim?
I'm be honest with you. I don't know what they doing. I'm being totally honest with you, because I try to, when COVID was around, I just noticed that more people had ideas and everything seems to be golden. But I'm always one that always go to the basic philosophy I was taught years ago was do the opposite of what the masses is doing and you always have the better results. So for me, when I saw everybody doing that, I'm just like, well, I'm gonna buckle down on one or two things and I'm just gonna ride that out. While everybody else is just, I'm doing so great. The government printing all this money. People got PPLs, BBLs, and GDLs, and whatever else going on. So I just put my head down what I was doing, to be honest with you, because I have identified from 2008 coming up to speed from 2008. I think it was a very clear that when you do the opposite of what people doing, you can get better results. So I just identified with, for me, how you have to put your head down so that way you got to be like an ostrich and put your head in the ground when there's a lot of distractions and a lot of noise around you. So then you could at least be focused on something, because I'm just like anybody else. I can get distracted as well. So I put safeguards in place, but this came with the discipline. I use the tools because I even look, like some of Dave Ramsey's stuff, some of his some of his structure, some of his methodical system. I utilize some of those. I don't know what just happened. I think it's some of my camera, but I utilize those things, and that's what allowed me to really get a good understanding on why discipline is so important. And I think for most people, especially the working class, the middle class, I think the key they have to ask themselves, going back to what you stated, Sim, not only do they have to ask why, I think they have to ask themselves if they participate or become part of this program, what do they really learn that's tangible?
Yep.
Because okay, if we take this program, they join this program, but what did they really learn? Because I think that's the key, and the problem is they have an interest, and I don't have no problem with Susan Orman tool making money. Because everybody that has something going to make money, especially when they can capture the market that doesn't understand or don't have the knowledge or lacking the knowledge to understand. So I have no problem with that because the type of infrastructure we're in a capitalistic society. But my question is really always going to go back to the individuals. And that's why I think we got to just sit back instead of always trying to find the problem in something. Sit back and ask myself, how can I benefit from this? And can I get a realistic, tangible outcome that's legitimate, that I got the paperwork to support it, but I can learn something in the process?
Yeah. Yeah, it's you have to learn. Like if you don't feel the pain, what do they say, no pain, no gain, you literally will not force yourself to grow if someone is carrying you along the way, you know? If you don't imagine for a second we never allowed a child. Matter of fact, it's in the same regard. Imagine whenever a child is attempting to walk, you keep them from falling, right? You leave them in like a walker like state so they never experience what it's like to pull themselves up. And they only know the feeling of standing up. And if you could think about anyone who is relentless, I'd say a baby is probably one of the best examples. The idea of a child not giving up, although they fall, they take a couple of steps and then they hit their head or they just figure it out. I've never really understood why babies are so strong. I don't know if it's their little bodies or what, but they're real strong. If you ever grab them, like the very they have a lot of strength, and the whole idea of them being able to just continue to try, they fall. Try again, they fall. It's something about us when we grow up. I don't know if it's like the whole idea of like our pride and ego being inserted, where we stop, we bump our head, and then we say, "Nah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that." But you could look at the baby; it's one of the best examples where you can see it in them. That listen, they're not giving up. They know that they haven't been able to get past three steps, but they continue to go and go and go. So I think that it's really interesting. So we're gonna go to the chat real quick. Salute, salute. Uh, we haven't got you back yet, Tim. All right, so check it out. All right, salute. Appreciate you coming through, Caramel Drip. What do you think? What do you think? Should we trust our girl Susie? Susie said, "Hey guys, you can count on me for your money. Count on me." That's what she said. Susie said, "Hey, salute, salute on the spot." What do you think on the spot? Do you think that we can trust our girl? Right? Salute to our brother Peter Investor M. He is a pillar to the channel, brother to the channel. What does he say? He's saying salute to the bros, the finance bros. He has a good question right here, guys. Salute to our brother JT Coinrays. Appreciate you coming through, bro. Check out Owner Spot, JT Coinrays. They're both content creators. Almost everyone's a content creator here. Salute, Uncle Stu, seat at the table. Can I get 500K? I got a great idea. You can trust me. I gotta play. That's what Uncle Stu said. I gotta play for you boys. I gotta play. Tim, we haven't got you back yet. All right. So what does Peter Investor M say to us? He says, what is considered savings? What's the best savings vehicle? A high yield account, bonds, or generated from a business. Let me see. Was it funds generated from a business or an investment brokerage account? Well, we're waiting for Tim to come back, but for now, we'll go ahead and roll with our boy Perry. Perry, what do you think? Let's see. Give me a sec. Let me get to. Let me fix this. Man, we struggle streaming over here. All right, so what you think, Perry? What's the best investment vehicle in your opinion? Here we go. One more time.
So, I think I touched on it a little bit earlier. I really think it's 401k. just from, you know, for the average person, honestly, just because I think that should be a basis just because of the fact that they, the match. But ultimately, for me, I like real estate the most. Um, because real estate, you can make money now, but you've also got the pay down, you've got, depreciation. And then you got appreciation, right? So there's just so much there's so much that real estate can do. So I think real estate for me is the way that you get your money now. And you don't necessarily have to spend it, right? But you can get your money now and get it later. And I just like that as a long-term investment vehicle. But I do think for those who are eligible for a 401k, that should be the first piece because you should always take the match. And then beyond that, I like real estate. And then I just like 401k and um, the stock market in general, but not just picking random stocks. I think that's a whole nother level that and then of course myself, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't say crypto, right? But I think that's more so on the more riskier end. And I think that's when you reach a point where you can dabble in that a little bit, but just to throw tons in, I don't think that's a smart decision, especially if you don't understand it.
So yeah, so we're gonna bring up bro back here. So yeah, what do you think, Tim? What do you think is the best way to save your money? This is Peter Investment M's. He says, what is considered savings? What is it considered savings? Is it high yield bonds, generated business income, or an investment brokerage account? In your opinion?
So, first, for me to define savings, I would look at savings as the money that you need in case of emergency or the type of money that you need right away. So I wouldn't necessarily associate savings and investing two different
Yeah.
things. And I think for most people, when you talk about savings, it needs to be in something that's a little bit more liquid. So I would say if I was to go with one, it should probably be a high yield savings account. Because you get the biggest bang for your buck. You get you still get the instant liquidity. It's not like your current bank or credit union where you just walk up with an ATM, but within 2 to 3 business days, you be able to get your money in your account. But they pay so much better interest. Um, so I think that would be what I would define as the best savings program for the average person. Um,
Yeah, I think
but
he's
I
right on
think,
that. My bad. I completely missed that. I read that wrong. I agree with him on that. Or like a money market account, something quick, something you
yeah.
get your money quickly. I definitely agree with Tim on that.
Yeah,
And I think but I think that looks different for everybody depending on where you at in your stage and your journey of your finances. Um because I think if you can't save $1,000 in your current checking or savings account, shoot, you don't really need to be looking at a high yield savings account, in my opinion. You need to be looking at getting some skills. I'm just wanting to really go back to that because I think, you know, the media and a lot of these tools it focus on everything but what's the real issue, and the real issue is people need to get their income up, and then people need to create the discipline. So that's at least what I think. Hopefully I answered Peter's question.
yeah, man. I mean, it's definitely a factor. To me, I would say the high yield account. I mean, it's just recently become really popular, right? To
Mhm.
me, I maybe in 2019, 2020, the conversation was very much centered around I'm not saving money if I'm earning I have to earn more than I'm saving. I feel like with just a saving account, a traditional savings account with your bank, the bank is earning more money on it than you ever will. And it just seems like you could put that money into a whole bunch of other vehicles. Now, I have a partner, and this is not suggested, But this is the same gentleman who's very disciplined. He puts his money into a position where he puts it out there in the marketplace, and whenever he needs access to something that's like a dire emergency, he waits the 7 days in order for him to get access to it, and then he can do that. But like the idea of real estate and you being able to actually see appreciation as a result of increasing the value on a given property, I think that's really like a good play, right? So that's a good question though. Appreciate you, Peter Investor. And what do you think? Let us know what you think. What do you think is the real and true investing? Oh, excuse me, savings vehicle. Salute on the spot. On the spot says cancel Christmas. Yeah, seriously. I mean, we're gonna see. We're gonna see if people are already only have 19% contributed towards an emergency fund. I mean, in Dave Ramsey's world, he would have said you need to have a sinking fund that's going towards like these Christmas gifts. You needed to have that, but can you have a sinking fund before an emergency fund? I mean, does that even make sense? I don't know, man. It's a crisis. And I think that we have to understand that these credit card companies, they will take your 29%. They have no problem taking your 29%. Whether it's $100, $10, whatever it is. Salute sit at the table with Uncle Stu. He says, you telling me that I can't stay in my car and do YouTube? Man, you could. You could if you live in California. It's a normal thing. You know, they got lots for those kind of situations, you know. They have lots, but I mean, I don't know if it's advisable, man.
I'm gonna do YouTube on the what's it, little scooters? What's the little jet scooters they have all over the place in San
Right.
Francisco?
Oh
Yep.
man, you talking about the scooters that you rent? Which are
Yeah, the little green scooters, green and white.
hmm
scooters, man. Listen.
I
Oh,
saw a guy who turned he modified. He made a modification where he can just rent one of those little bikes and a shopping cart that he bought at a I think he bought it at a garage sale
yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
modified to it, and
I saw that.
he goes over there, he pops it on,
I saw
and
that.
just and takes off with it.
Man, listen. I was in 2 months ago, guys. I was in Los Angeles. No shade, no shade, right? I was in Los Angeles and I'm taking a walk, right? Walking down the street, and I see one of them Lime scooters.
Yeah, lime, that's it.
Listen, they had gutted the Lime scooter, Perry. They had stripped. They had stripped the Lime scooter, man. They took the battery off. They took the motor off. All you had was the little frame that connects like the handlebars to like the base. They took
Sitting on cinder blocks.
Nobody is safe out here. You think it's rough out here, man? You about to see
Right.
wild stuff out here, man. So no shade.
So
No,
they turn that lime scooter into a lemon.
listen. Listen. They said, "Oh, there's a free battery in the motor for me."
Right.
Oh my god, man!
Oh my gosh.
When I saw that, I should have took a picture of it, man. It's hilarious. But yeah,
Yeah.
what's Peter? Salute. What does he say? What does he say? Let me see. He says, Peter Investor M, same here. Getting my computer upgraded. I will be doing some videos from outside my studio. I'll be doing more self-development, which can apply in our life. For real, man. I mean, having the opportunity to take a break, pull yourself away from like the grinds of like just content creation or just the grinds in general of life, and being able to say, hey, let me unplug, let me figure out a way to get my mental straight, man. So salute to seat at the table with Uncle Stu, man. There's something about that, you can only take it one day at a time. It cannot be rushed out here at all. What does Peter Investor M say? He says, is saving something tangible you could use for emergency funds or future savings? I mean, I say yeah. I mean, well, I think that we answered that statement when Tim made the distinction between the high yield and an investment vehicle. And I will say that you want it to be something that you don't get taxed for accessing it, right? There's not a 10% penalty that comes with you accessing your own funds. And what does he say right here? Peter Investor M says, it depends on where you put savings first, before spending or after spending. Yeah, I mean, but I mean, at 19%, if people are only, I mean, the whole country, what do you think? Is it 300 million people in America? I think it's something along those lines. So if it's 300 million people in America, what's 19% of 300? It is, geez, let me pull it up. This is Tim's number right here. 300 times 19%. So, geez, hold on. I need to use some real numbers because I'm a C student. All right, 300 million times 19%. That's 60 million people. So that's 60.6 million people who are putting money, who put more money this year into their emergency fund than they already had last year, man. But that spells emergency to me. All right, taking time for yourself and family is important. That's what I said. Yeah, man. 330. That's what he said. 330. So yeah, that's what I thought. 330. That's a crisis, man. We are in a crisis. So, what do you guys think? We'll go ahead and wrap up. What do you think? Should we be counting on Susie or her and her company in order for us to show up our opportunities for us to have something in the case of emergency? I'll go ahead and start with Tim. Tim, what you think?
I would say no. I would say what most people should be doing is one, going back to what Perry shared earlier, is first getting rid of their debt, getting rid of credit cards, especially if you're carrying a balance. And then I say two, I think right now is the prime time that people need to get skills and go out and make additional income. And at this point, I think people need to humble themselves and get off of titles, get off of labels, and do it because the additional money is going to help the long term goal and not look at it from a short term perspective.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. What do you think, Perry?
Yeah, I think a lot of this always. I mean, it really boils down to discipline. It boils down to discipline and just having a plan. The main thing for people to know is that what we're seeing right now is just. I'm not gonna say it's the beginning, but we're probably not far from the beginning. Ultimately, like, do I think we'll see better times ahead? Yeah, I do, but I think there'll be. I think the good times are getting shorter and shorter, right? So I think that we're going to see, rougher times, and you got to prepare. But ultimately, it comes down to discipline. And I think all these programs are one thing, but at the end of the day, if you don't change your habits, then you're going to be talking about the same thing over and over again. You're going to see the same problems.
I agree. I agree. And just to conclude what the fellas said, I agree with them. It's during the toughest times that I believe that you have the greatest opportunity to put yourself in position. And had I not had my challenges that I had leading up to now, and I still have challenges, we all do. Even people talk about being cash poor, and a lot of people, like Perry was saying earlier, they could be investment heavy and then cash poor. That's not a horrible situation as long as you have more upside than anything. It just can't be a situation where we're relegated to counting on these predatory measures, whether it's payday loans, going to a pawn shop, going to a place where you're doing like a collateral loan, having a situation where you're doing a payday loan even through your bank. Credit cards, 29% interest on that. These companies are legally able to charge you all that money because you're not in position. You're not disciplined. It can be something as simple as you just tracking your spending, just saying, hey, Chick-fil-A this week has 60 of my dollars. Does Chick-fil-A land higher on the priority list than me myself? Are they more important than me being in position? If that's your answer, if they're more important than you being in a good situation, that's fine. But remember, Chick-fil-A is a privately held company. They don't have no shareholders. So when you're in a dire straits, you're gonna have to go to them and ask them for an opportunity to be rescued. We have to put ourselves in position. And if we don't do it today, then what are we going to do tomorrow? It's only the tip of the iceberg. We don't know what's going to come tomorrow. The government, they're having all kinds of fights. They can't even agree on wild things. So we're in a wild, wild situation. So I think that it's best for people to save yourself, like on an airplane, put on your mask before you can put on anyone else's mask. And I think that that's the sentiment we should have going forward. Beyond that, I appreciate everyone that came through. Peter Investor M, Owner Spot, Sit at the Table, Uncle Stu, Caramel Drip, JT Coin Rings. Salute to the Finance Bros, the Intentional Millionaire, Perry Unlikely. Check out their channels. It's in the description. These brothers sharing a wealth of information, whether it's real estate, crypto, just general financial concepts. These are things that I was looking for a long time. And we're not necessarily interested in capitalizing on the fact that you don't have the information. It's a matter of just having basic conversations and figuring out a way to go up from there. So without further ado, appreciate y'all coming through. Till next time. Peace.